Maria Theresa, Archduchess of Austria, Queen of Hungary and Bohemia, Holy Roman Empress. She is remembered as one of the most powerful women in European history, a ruler who commanded armies, reformed entire nations, and held a crumbling empire together through sheer force of will. Her portrait hangs in palaces across Vienna, her gaze steady and composed, every inch the sovereign. But behind that composed gaze lay a woman who buried child after child, who wept in private while she governed in public, who loved deeply and lost repeatedly. What was Maria Theresa really like beneath the crown and the ceremony? In this video, you will learn the true story of the woman history calls the Great Empress and the private grief she carried every day of her reign. Maria Theresa was born on the 13th of May, 1717, in the Hofburg Palace in Vienna. Her father was Emperor Charles VI, the last male heir of the House of Habsburg, and her mother was Elizabeth Christine of Brunswick-Wolfenbüttel. From the very beginning, Maria Theresa's existence carried a political weight that no child should bear. Charles had no sons, and in the rigid dynastic world of 18th century Europe, a daughter on the throne was considered a profound vulnerability. He spent years negotiating the pragmatic sanction, a legal instrument that would allow his daughter to inherit his lands, extracting promises from every major European power that they would honor her succession. He believed those promises. He was wrong. Maria Theresa grew up in the imperial court with a freedom that was unusual for a princess of her station. Her father, perhaps sensing that she would one day need to stand alone, allowed her a spirited education. She learned Latin, French, Italian, and Spanish. She was musical, playing the harpsichord with genuine feeling. She loved riding and moved through the world with a physical confidence that struck all who met her. Contemporaries described her as tall and fair, with large blue eyes, light chestnut hair, and a radiant complexion. Her temperament was direct, warm, and fiercely determined. She was not trained for the finer points of statecraft, however. Her father kept her at a distance from the actual business of government, a decision that would cost her terribly in the early years of her reign. On the 12th of February, 1736, Maria Theresa married Francis Stephen of Lorraine at the Augustinian Church in Vienna. The match had been arranged, as all royal matches were, but there was something genuine in it from the start. Maria Theresa had known Francis since she was a young girl, and she had made it clear to her father that she wished to marry no one else. She later wrote with remarkable candor that she believed she had never loved anyone the way she loved her husband. He was charming, warm, and not particularly interested in politics, qualities that suited the arrangement well enough. The wedding itself was celebrated with great festivity, and for a brief season, the young couple enjoyed a happiness that felt almost ordinary. But the world was already pressing in. On the 20th of October, 1740, Emperor Charles VI died suddenly, and Maria Theresa, just 23 years old, found herself ruler of a vast and threatened empire. The promises of the pragmatic sanction dissolved almost overnight. Frederick II of Prussia invaded Silesia within weeks. France, Bavaria, and Saxony joined in carving up what they believed was now a defenseless inheritance. Maria Theresa was pregnant with her fourth child at the time. She had already given birth to Maria Elizabeth, Maria Anna, and Maria Carolina. She governed through the final months of her pregnancy, while simultaneously trying to hold her court together, secure allies, and raise funds for a war. To win the loyalty of Hungary, she appeared before the Hungarian Diet in Bratislava, visibly carrying her child, and appealed directly to the Magyar nobles. The scene was extraordinary. She spoke in Latin. She wept with genuine emotion, and the hall rose to her. They pledged their lives and their blood. Her son Joseph, later her co-regent, was born shortly thereafter on the 13th of March, 1741. Maria Theresa would go on to have 16 children in all. 16. The names came steadily across more than 20 years of marriage. Maria Theresa the Younger, who died as an infant. Maria Anna. Maria Carolina, who died at the age of 4 months. Maria Elizabeth. Charles Joseph. Maria Amalia. Leopold, who would one day reign as Emperor Leopold II. Maria Carolina, a second daughter given that name after the first died. Ferdinand. Maria Johanna Gabriela, who died at 12. Maria Josefa, who died at 15. Maria Cristina, her mother's favorite. The one child Maria Theresa would admit she loved above the rest, Maria Elizabeth. Maria Antonia, known to history as Marie Antoinette. Maximilian Franz. The list is both a testament to fecundity and a ledger of loss. Several of these children died before reaching adulthood, and the grief of each death was born in the knowledge that she could not stop governing, could not retreat, could not afford to be simply a mother. The death of Maria Johanna Gabriela in 1762 was particularly devastating. The girl was 12 years old and had been betrothed to Ferdinand IV of Naples. She contracted smallpox and died before the marriage could take place. Her younger sister Maria Josefa was then put forward as the replacement bride and died of the same disease 3 years later, having contracted it while being made to pray at her sister's coffin as part of a court ritual that Maria Theresa herself could not override. Maria Theresa had not believed the illness was still contagious by that point. She was wrong. The loss of 2 daughters in quick succession from the same preventable cause broke something in her, and she became from that moment one of the most passionate advocates of inoculation in the Habsburg lands, driving vaccination programs across her territories with the same force she brought to military reform. Francis Stephen died on the 18th of August, 1765, in Innsbruck, while the court was attending the wedding celebrations of his son Leopold. He collapsed and was gone before Maria Theresa could fully comprehend what had happened. She had reigned beside him, above him in many practical ways, and had tolerated his infidelities with a public composure that cost her everything in private. But she had loved him. She cut off her hair and wore black for the rest of her life. She slept from that night forward in a room whose walls she ordered hung with portraits of him. She placed a cast of his hand by her bed. She wrote of him, quote, _0, __, she never wore color again. The grief was real, and it was permanent. The final years of her reign were marked by an increasing tension with her son Joseph, now her co-regent as Emperor Joseph II. Joseph was a man of the Enlightenment, impatient, reforming, often cold in his calculations. Maria Theresa was a woman of deep Catholic faith who believed that governance required both principle and feeling. They clashed over nearly everything. She was appalled by the first partition of Poland in 1772, which Joseph supported and which Frederick II of Prussia had essentially engineered. She signed the documents after long resistance, and she wrote of herself with terrible honesty. Quote 1, she was. It haunted her. Meanwhile, her daughter Maria Antonia had been dispatched to France on the 21st of April, 1770, to marry the future Louis XVI. Maria Theresa had prepared her daughter for this role from childhood, and she watched with mounting anxiety as the young Dauphine struggled to establish herself at Versailles. The letters between them are remarkable documents. Maria Theresa wrote with the directness of a head of state and the worry of a mother, cautioning her daughter about frivolity, about the company she kept, about her failure to produce an heir. Quote 2, quote, she wrote to Marie Antoinette. Quote 3, quote, the affection behind the instruction is unmistakable. But the distance between Vienna and Versailles was immense, and Maria Theresa died on the 29th of November, 1780, never knowing the full extent of the tragedy that awaited her youngest surviving daughter. Perhaps that was a mercy. The final chapter of her life was overshadowed by failing health. She suffered from severe shortness of breath, a condition that had plagued her for years, likely a combination of heart disease and the physical toll of 16 pregnancies. She continued to work until she could not. She continued to receive ministers, to sign documents, to make decisions. On the 29th of November, 1780, she died at the Hofburg, aged 63, with Joseph at her side. Her last words, as recorded by those present, were, quote 4, she had reigned for 40 years. She had transformed the Habsburg Empire through administrative reform, educational expansion, the abolition of torture, and the reorganization of the military. She had done all of this while carrying a private burden of loss that would have broken most people entirely. What remains of Maria Theresa today is the legend of the great matriarch, the composed ruler, the mother of a dynasty. And she was all of those things, but she was also a woman who wore black every day for 15 years because she missed her husband, who ordered her daughter's coffin opened because she needed to see her one more time, who signed documents she believed were unjust because the alternative was worse, and then wrote honestly about her own shame, who drove vaccination campaigns across an empire because she could not bear that other mothers lose their children to a disease she had once underestimated. The image on the coin, the portrait in the palace, the name on the square in Vienna, they show a queen. But the letters, the diaries, the decisions made in grief, those show a human being. A woman who ruled the world and could not hold her children in it. History named her Maria Theresa the Great. The children she lost might simply have called her their mother. Both names are true,